Hey guys, let's get more news from Steelers, but first don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your like. Tim Benz, making Mason Rudolph the Steelers starter has already helped Mike Tomlin. During Monday's press conference, Pittsburgh Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin summed up his feelings about the club's three-game losing streak. One week, you're drinking wine, then next week, you're squashing grapes. Obviously, we've squashed a lot of grapes of late. I'm interested in a little wine, Tomlin said. After the past 3 weeks, I think most Steelers fans have felt like drinking grain alcohol straight from the bottle alone in a dark room. Tomlin is apparently now so desperate to raise a toast in victory that he is turning to Mason Rudolph at the quarterback position. That's pretty telling, seeing as how Tomlin benched Rudolph for Devlin "Duck" Hodges in 2019, pushed him down the depth chart by signing Mitch Trubisky and drafting Kenny Pickett prior to the 2022 campaign, and let him test the free agent waters this past spring. Yet, Tomlin made the announcement Monday that Rudolph is going to be the starting quarterback Saturday against the Cincinnati Bengals. That's if Pickett isn't healthy enough to play. Rushing back a less than 100% Pickett to start would be the latest indignity for Rudolph to endure, especially since Pickett was largely underwhelming this season at full health. He's a backup, but he's also a veteran guy, Tomlin said of Rudolph. He's been in our program a long time. He's here for those reasons. We got a great deal of comfort with him. He is a competitor. He believes in himself. He's a calculated risk taker. I believe that mentality is helpful to us under these circumstances. The system familiarity, competitive toughness, and veteran presence all sound good. But, to me, that's either Tomlin not having enough solid, on-field reasons as to why he is turning to Rudolph aside from pure desperation. Or it's an attempt to avoid saying anything disparaging about the now rebenched Trubisky. The one thing that did stand out to me, though, was the calculated risk-taker part. Pickett appears to have been programmed by Tomlin, Matt Canada, Eddie Faulkner, and Mike Sullivan into making avoiding turnovers his only priority. He seems so risk-averse that chances for big plays are rarely explored. Meanwhile, Trubisky's biggest problem has always been in the middle. He tends to get risky when certain throws don't call for that. Mike Tomlin sees obvious room for improvement in Steelers WR George Pickens. Mason Rudolph isn't the only member of the Pittsburgh Steelers whose role could change as they try to snap a 3-game losing streak Saturday when they play the Cincinnati Bengals. It's just that Rudolph's ascent to starting quarterback is the only one that coach Mike Tomlin would share at his weekly press conference Monday. There will be more, but those discussions are ongoing, Tomlin said. We're very much in the developmental stages of our plan, and that includes division of labor. Some of those discussions are ongoing. Could one of those changes involve wide receiver George Pickens? With 3 minutes left in the first quarter, Pickens didn't finish his block on a Jaylen Warren 6-yard run to the Indianapolis 1. Pickens stood and watched the play unfold. In the second quarter, Pickens mistimed his jump on a deep pass and was outleaped by 6-foot cornerback Nick Cross, who got the interception. Tomlin told the team website that he had a great meeting last week with Pickens to discuss the wide receiver's frustrations in the offense. I thought he was better, but he still has room for continued improvement, Tomlin said. When the lack of effort by Pickens on the Warren run was mentioned to Tomlin, he responded, "That's one example in terms of still obvious room for improvement." Asked how he can get Pickens' attention, Tomlin said, "We keep working." Tomlin promised changes in the aftermath of the Steelers' 30-13 loss to the Indianapolis Colts at Lucas Oil Stadium. At 7-7, the Steelers are in last place in the AFC North and sit outside the playoff picture. One week you're drinking wine, the next week you're squashing grapes, Tomlin said. We've been squashing a lot of grapes of late. I'm interested in a little wine. Tomlin explained his rationale behind not sending Chris Boswell in to kick a 57-yard field goal with the Steelers, trailing by 11 points late in the third quarter. He said he was trying to protect his defense from defending a short field in the event Boswell missed the kick. Tomlin said Boswell, who earlier had missed an extra point, was not dealing with an injury. A miss would have given the Colts the ball at the 47. Instead, Presley Harvin followed with a 22-yard punt. If you're trying to put people on the long field, we're talking about 95-plus yards is what we're looking for under ideal circumstances, Tomlin said. I think they ended up with the ball roughly around the 17. That's not what we were looking for. Tom Brady blasts NFL for Steelers suspension. Future Hall of Famer Tom Brady has made his thoughts known about the NFL suspending Pittsburgh Steelers safety Damontae Kazee for the remainder of the season, due to several unnecessary roughness penalties throughout the year. The Steelers safety was ejected in Week 15 after a hit on Indianapolis Colts wide receiver Michael Pittman Jr. Days later, the league announced Kazee would be shut down for the remainder of the season and the playoffs, without pay. When players violate the rules intended to protect players' safety on a repeated basis, and particularly when the violations carry with them a significant risk of injury to an opposing player, it is appropriate to impose substantially greater penalties, NFL Vice President of Football Operations John Runyon said in a press release about the suspension. Now, Brady is putting his thoughts on there, blasting the NFL for their decision on the matter. Nobody likes seeing players get hurt. But hard hits happen, Brady wrote on Instagram. QBs should not be throwing the ball in areas where they are exposing their own teammates to these types of hits. Coaches need to coach better, QBs needs to read coverages and throw the ball to the right places, and defenders should aim for the right hitting areas. To put the blame on the defense player all the time is just flat out wrong. Need better QB play. It's not okay QBs to get your WRs hit because of your bad decisions. Kazee does plan to appeal to suspension. This season, he's been fined 5 times for just over $59,000. However, his agent confirmed to CBS Sports' Josina Anderson that most of those fines were rescinded. I want to bring light to the situation of defensive players who are in a position feeling like they have to make plays to keep their job, but also not having any intent to injure, Kazee's agent Ron Butler told Anderson. This is the most I've dealt with fines since I've been an agent. I understand they're trying to clean up the game, but at this point it's a bit extreme. As for the notion of Kazee receiving a harsher punishment for being a repeat violator, you have to remember most of his fines that were assessed this season got rescinded after appeal. So we have to be careful about that classification and narrative. And you fan, what do you think of the Tom Brady situation? Leave your opinion in the comments.